I can describe something that Union Pacific has. It's gray, it's bulky, it's used for odd jobs, and is average size. That description matches up with these. So these are slugs.
Huh?
I'll direct you to Winnipeg's video to learn more, but in short, slugs are used in rail yards to balance out power from the traction motors to provide stronger braking. Every Class 1 railroad does roster slugs in their own capacity, usually being these stubby little things. But sometimes they will maintain the external appearance of their original car body, since most slugs are usually made from older road switchers. And this is pretty much the case for these slugs, as they still maintain the car body of their previous form, with the absence of crucial components. But then comes the question of where did they originate from? Well, these specific slugs were originally made off of various old B30-7s. A 4-axle GE model introduced in 1977 by General Electric, as another installment of their beloved -7 series. A total of 399 units were produced, with Missouri Pacific being among the buyers, with 58 units delivered and specifically being classified as B30-7As, a subclass model specifically ordered by the railroad with a 12-cylinder engine rather than the status quo 16 cylinders, which in turn benefited from reduced maintenance costs and saving on fuel. The Mopac would put these -7s to work across the Screaming Eagles route, lasting well into the days of the UP acquisition of 1982, with each unit eventually getting repainted into the armor yellow look between 1986 and 1988, and also being renumbered from the 4800 series to 200 series. Within that time frame though, with the advent of more powerful locomotives, the B-boats were eventually shoved down to local service and later reassigned to the state of Texas around the late 90s.
Meanwhile,
The Southern Pacific would also buy B-30s, with 84 units rostered, alongside the subsidiary Cotton Belt, which had 26 units. And these boats would pretty much be used on similar jobs, although they were most known for being used on high-priority intermodal trains across the SP system. But, in due time, they'd be utilized on local service, and then patched over into UP. By the mid-2000s, the B-30s were well over 25 years old, with maintenance costs rising, and railroads instead preferring to go with more reliable and contemporary GP38s. And starting in 2003, many B-30s and even B-23s were getting disposed of in different ways, from getting scrapped to being sold to short lines to being used as frames for new whatever those are. But 71 lucky B-boats would survive on UP, as, let's just get into it. In July 2003, Union Pacific would start sending over many B-30s and B-23s over to Alstom in Calgary, Alberta, to undergo conversion into CCRCLs, which means Control Car Remote Control Locomotive. Try saying that fast 15 times. And they were extensively modified for this conversion, which included the traction motors being removed, albeit with the prime movers intact, a fully gray livery with red striping along various parts of the locomotive, including hazard stripes under the shield logo, beacons mounted on the cab roof, cab windows plated over, control stands removed, and most distinctively, the removal of the fuel tank since they weren't fully locomotives anymore. And it just looks so wrong, to be honest. The gray livery was also specifically chosen to reduce confusion with regular locomotives, since I'd hate to imagine one of these accidentally getting thrown onto a hotshot intermodal train. So, the purpose of these lobotomized B-boats was to house the remote control equipment while being coupled to another locomotive that didn't have the necessary, RC equipment. Oh, and to save money, of course. Which in turn allowed the powered set to be remote controlled just from this lobotomized B-boat. And they were found across various yards around the UP system, from the state of California all the way down to Texas. And they were usually lashed up with various yard locomotives, from the GP38s down to those ugly-ass gensets. So while a bizarre lobotomization of some old General Electric locomotives, at least they were kept in the service in a rather peculiar way. Now, as of modern day, many photos I've seen of the gray slugs are in pretty rough states. You see, Union Pacific doesn't utilize these slugs anymore, due to the advent of remote control equipment being applied to various locomotives. I mean, think about it. Many GP38s and SC40s are getting retrofitted with the necessary RC equipment without having to completely gut the whole thing out. And with this practice being pushed forward, this defeated the need for this oversized and quite bulky looking slug. Which, yeah, that's what it was. It felt very bulky behind a rather large locomotive, which in turn just kind of made them unnecessary, especially with all the necessary equipment stuffed inside one locomotive. And with them becoming redundant, this saw many of these slugs getting scrapped, with apparently 2 still around on the UP's roster as of 2026, although it's easy to assume they're rotting in a storage line. So UP's CCRCLs were rather peculiar, starting off as regular workhorses before getting a vasectomied and turning into these oversized remote control battering rams. They only fell to the wayside due to the rise of RC conversions, which in turn put them out of work. While bizarre, they definitely were an interesting piece of equipment that helped switch out the rail yards of the Union Pacific.